My girlfriend told me you always need something right when I have something important. This was her response when I asked her to stay home after my tumor surgery, instead of going to her Arizona wellness retreat. I am still trying to wrap my head around what just happened. And honestly, I need to get this out because it is eating me alive. I am Ethan, 33, mechanical engineer here in Austin. Not the most exciting guy in the world, but I show up when people need me. At least I thought that is what you do in relationships. Apparently I was wrong about that. 3 days ago I went to see my doctor about stomach pain that has been getting worse for months. You know how you keep putting things off thinking it will just go away? Well, it didn't go away. Turned out to be a benign tumor in my small intestine. The doctor was really calm about it, said it is completely treatable but needs to come out within 3 weeks. Minimally invasive surgery, but still surgery. 4 to 6 weeks recovery time, including 5 to 7 days where I will need someone around just in case. It is routine, he said, but not something you should go through alone. I left that clinic holding this folder full of pre-op instructions and suddenly feeling like the ground had shifted under my feet. Not because I was scared of the surgery itself, but because for the first time in 2 years, I was going to need my girlfriend Tessa to actually be there for me. Tessa runs this lifestyle brand called Tessawell. She has got over 200,000 YouTube subscribers, all about feminine empowerment and self-care and independence. She is beautiful, polished, incredibly driven. Sometimes I wonder what she sees in a guy like me, but we have been living together for almost 2 years now, so I figured we were solid. That evening, I told her about the surgery date, April 21st. She was editing a video on her laptop, and when I said the words, she just froze. Then her face changed. That is the week of my Scottsdale retreat, babe. I cannot cancel that. I am hosting. I stared at her. It is not a conference, Tess. It is surgery. It is not cancer, right? So you will be fine. She actually laughed. She pulled out her planner, flipped through pages, and said she would see if she could move her flight. But even as she said it, I could tell she wasn't really considering it. Her brand was more important than my surgery. 2 nights later, she was packing ring lights and skincare products into these pristine white suitcases. I was sitting on our couch, pale and shaky from the painkillers they had given me for the pain, watching her prepare to leave me. I just need someone home for the first few days, I said quietly. That is when she turned around and hit me with it. You are being manipulative. You always need something right when I have something important. Something broke inside me when she said that. Not just my heart, but something deeper. The part of me that had been making excuses for her for months, maybe years. I realized I had been so busy being understanding about her career that I had forgotten I was supposed to matter too. I didn't argue. I just thanked her and said I would figure it out. My neighbor Marlene, this retired nurse who lives across the hall, heard what was happening through the thin walls. She knocked on my door the next morning and offered to drive me to the hospital. She is 68, warm, no nonsense. And when she looked at me with these kind eyes, I almost cried. Tessa left for Arizona the morning of my pre-op appointment. Her last words before getting in her Uber were stay positive, manifest healing energy. I watched her drive away and realized I felt relieved. But here is the thing I cannot stop thinking about. When they asked me for my emergency contact at the hospital intake, I paused. For a full 30 seconds, I just sat there with the pen in my hand. Then I wrote down Marlene's name and number instead of Tessa's. The nurse taking my information, this woman named Camille with these sharp, knowing eyes, looked at what I had written and just nodded. Good call, she said. Am I crazy for feeling like my girlfriend abandoning me for a work retreat might actually be the best thing that has happened to our relationship? Because right now, lying here the night before surgery, I am not scared of the operation. I am scared of how much clearer everything looks when the person who is supposed to love you shows you exactly where you rank in their priorities. Reddit, tell me straight. Am I overreacting, or is this as messed up as it feels? Update 1. Well, Reddit. The surgery happened, and let me tell you, things got interesting in ways I never saw coming. First off, thanks to everyone who commented on my original post. Reading your responses while I was recovering honestly kept me sane. A lot of you called what was going to happen before I did. Surgery went fine. Tumors gone, recovery is going smoothly, but that is not why I am updating. So I am in my hospital bed Tuesday morning, still pretty groggy from the anesthesia, when I hear this conversation at the nurse's station outside my room. My nurse Camille is talking to someone on the phone, and her voice is perfectly professional. This is Tessa Moore, Ethan's partner and public figure. I need a statement for my followers. They are really scared. I am still half asleep, but that wakes me right up. Camille's response is textbook hospital policy. Madam, We can only confirm that the patient is receiving appropriate care. For specific updates, you had need to speak with the patient directly. But I am his girlfriend. I understand. The patient is currently resting and recovering. That is all I can share. Resting. What does that mean? Is he stable? He is receiving standard post-operative care. You are welcome to call back later. Click. Camille walks into my room about 5 minutes later. Your girlfriend called the nurses' station, she says matter-of-factly. I am confused because Tessa hadn't called me, hadn't texted. Nothing. She called you. She wanted a statement for her followers about your condition. That is when it hits me. Tessa wasn't calling to check on me. She was calling to get content. By 7 that evening, my sister Rachel is texting me screenshots that make my stomach drop. Tessa had gone live on Instagram from her hotel room in Scottsdale. The caption read, "He is in surgery. They will not tell me if he is stable. Please pray for Ethan," with a broken heart emoji and hashtag pray for Ethan. The video shows her in tears, talking about how the hospital gave her vague, terrifying responses, how she is reading between the lines, how scared she is that they will not confirm he is stable. Within hours, it is trending locally. Her followers are sending messages, flowers to the hospital, and here is the part that made me sick: donations to her PayPal link for hospital costs. By the end of the week, she had raised over $4,200 from people who thought I was dying. She is live streaming my surgery for sympathy donations. The next morning, Camille comes in carrying her tablet. "So you are famous," she says, showing me the Instagram post. I just stare at it. "Apparently dying makes you marketable." Camille shakes her head. She called 3 more times yesterday. Same questions, same standard responses from our staff. She is turning normal hospital protocol into a soap opera. And that is exactly what happened. Every time Tessa called, she got the same professional, standard responses any hospital gives. The patient is resting. He is receiving appropriate care. We cannot discuss specifics. But in her videos, she spun these normal responses into dramatic interpretations about my condition getting worse, about the hospital hiding something, about her being shut out during his darkest hour. Meanwhile, I am sitting up in bed eating Jell-O and watching Netflix. I should have stopped it. I know that. But watching her perform grief for an audience while I recovered alone, I felt something I would never felt toward Tessa before. Not anger. Exactly. More like clarity. She had turned my medical emergency into her content opportunity, and now her own desperation for that content was trapping her in this web of her own making. The comments on her videos were getting interesting too. People were starting to ask questions. Wait, didn't you post from a spa yesterday? Why are you in Arizona if he is dying in Texas? Someone had done the math on her location tags. I am getting discharged tomorrow, and apparently Tessa's flying back early. Part of me wonders what she is expecting to find. Update 2, you guys. I cannot even begin to describe what has happened in the past few days. Remember how I said things were getting interesting? Well, they just got nuclear. My discharge got delayed for observation due to minor complications. So Tessa flew back from Arizona early, and the first thing she did was drive straight to the hospital. Not to see me, mind you, to record another video in the parking lot. I am watching from my hospital window as she sets up her phone on the dashboard of her car, puts on fresh lipstick, and starts crying on camera. I just want answers. They will not even confirm if he is alive. Camille comes into my room carrying her coffee and looks out the window. "You want me to let the movie star in?" "No," I say, and I surprise myself by how sure I sound. Let her watch the credits roll from the lobby, but here is the thing that changes everything. While Tessa's making this dramatic parking lot video about being denied access to her dying boyfriend, someone in the comments recognizes the background from her Scottsdale retreat vlogs, the same retreat she posted about, timestamped the exact day I was having surgery. The internet turned on her like a switch flipping. Twitter exploded. She went to a spa while her boyfriend had surgery. Pray for Ethan was a grift. Screenshots of her retreat posts next to screenshots of her hospital parking lot videos. The timeline didn't lie. Her sponsors started dropping her, quietly at first. Then not so quietly. 3 major brand deals worth approximately $15,000 canceled by Thursday. Her follower count dropped by over 120,000 in 48 hours. But the real explosion happened when she posted her response video. Women shouldn't be villainized for chasing their dreams. The top comment with over 3,000 likes, "You are being villainized for leaving your partner mid-surgery for Instagram content." I am reading all this from my hospital bed, and I realize something shifted inside me. For 2 years, I had been making excuses for Tessa's behavior, telling myself her career was demanding, that I needed to be more supportive. But seeing her turn my surgery into a performance, watching her cry fake tears for donations, while I recovered alone, I finally understood what everyone else could see clearly. She didn't love me. She loved what I could provide for her content. Camille stops by before her shift ends. "How you feeling about all this?" "Like I have been living with a stranger," I tell her. "Sometimes it takes a crisis to see what is real," she says. "The people who show up quietly versus the ones who show up with cameras." When I got discharged yesterday, Tessa was waiting in the lobby with flowers and 2 assistants holding professional cameras. My sister Rachel was helping me with my bag when we saw the setup. "You brought your vlog camera?" I asked. "People want closure," Tessa said, tears already streaming. "Then give it to them," I said, and walked past her toward the exit. The last thing I heard before the elevator doors closed was her asking her assistant if they got the shot. I moved out 2 days after discharge, found a small guest house for rent near Marlene's place. It is quiet, has a little garden, and nobody's ever asked me to be in a video there. Tessa's apology video dropped this morning. It is called My Truth About Pray for Ethan, and it is a masterclass in missing the point. She blames hospital miscommunication, says she was just trying to keep people updated, claims she is being attacked for being a successful woman. The comment section is brutal, but there is one that made me actually laugh out loud. Someone identified Camille in the background of one of the hospital photos, and she had commented, "We gave standard post-op updates. Patient is resting and receiving care." She turned normal hospital responses into a medical drama. Camille's become an internet legend for exactly 2 days, which is probably 2 days longer than she wanted. I should feel bad about how this all played out, but honestly, I feel free. Final update. Hey Reddit, I know it has been a while since I updated about the whole hospital drama situation, but I wanted to close this chapter properly since so many of you have been checking in. 6 months later, and I can honestly say my life is completely different. The scar from surgery healed fine, but more importantly, so did I. I am still living in that little guest house near Marlene's place. Turns out having a neighbor who actually cares about you is worth more than all the social media followers in the world. I adopted a rescue dog named Charlie, a mutt with one ear that sticks up and one that flops down. He is terrible at being photogenic, and I love him for it. Had my 6-month follow-up at the clinic last week. Clean bill of health. I brought coffee for Camille and flowers for Marlene, just to say thanks for showing up when it mattered. As for Tessa, well, she is still online. Her follower count dropped by about half, but she has reinvented herself selling healing crystals and wellness coaching. Her latest video is titled "Sometimes Losing Someone Teaches You Who You Really Were," which I scrolled past once before locking my phone. No one commented on it. I used to think I needed to be understanding about everything, that being supportive meant accepting whatever scraps of attention someone was willing to give me. But lying in that hospital bed, watching someone I thought loved me turn my pain into her profit, taught me something important about the difference between being patient and being a doormat. The people who matter show up quietly. They bring you coffee and offer to drive you places and sit with you when you are scared. They don't live stream your worst moments or ask you to smile for their camera when you are in pain. I have started dating again, actually. Met someone at a coffee shop near the hospital where I volunteer once a week now, reading to kids in the pediatric ward. Her name is Sarah, she is a social worker. And when I told her about my surgery scar, she asked if it still hurt, not if she could take a picture of it. She was alone, no cameras, no assistants. She looked smaller somehow, tired. She started to say something about missing me, about making mistakes, but I just smiled and said I hope she was doing well. I meant it too. Not because I forgive her for abandoning me when I needed her most, but because holding on to anger about it would have just been another way of letting her control my story. Sometimes I think about that moment in the hospital when they asked for my emergency contact, and I wrote down Marlene's name instead of Tessa's. My hand knew something my brain hadn't figured out yet. Turns out I am fine. I was always going to be fine, and I never needed an audience to prove it. Thanks for listening, Reddit. Thanks for helping me see clearly when everything felt confusing. Sometimes strangers on the internet care more about your well-being than the people sleeping next to you, and that says something important about both kindness and proximity. Take care of yourselves. Show up for the people who matter, and if someone ever live streams your surgery for donations, you have my permission to walk away without looking back.